Hey guys, this is Mike from WIGERT'S in North Fort Myers, Florida. Just doing a quick video. Today's topic is going to be Sea Hibiscus. It's a product that we carry here in the nursery. And when I first started out getting into bonsai, we're big into tropicals here, and we pull a lot of inspiration instead of Japan. A lot of times we pull the inspiration from Taiwan. And this material was something that when I first started was something that was really promoted from Taiwan to here. And so it's something that's very rewarding material to work on. It grows extremely quickly, is extremely quick to heal wounds, and also its key to fame is the multiple branches that it can achieve through the training and through ramification. So today's video, we have a few Sea Hibiscus here in the $35 range. We're going to be cutting them to a line and just showing a quick styling, giving you an idea on how to work with this material when you're at home on your own. What I did here is kind of the first start whenever working with nursery growing material, especially material that may have been grown in bulk or in mass. A lot of times we got to take things away and start the tree at what's called a trunk line. What a trunk line is finding a nice line, which is just what it sounds like, of the trunk that starts from the bottom, tapering to a leader. And ideally having each of the branches, the primary branches, also having a point where they're cut to taper. So right here is the point where I would kind of start the tree and then continue building from here. So the next thing I'm going to do is just put a little bit of wire on these guys and put them into a shape where they can then be allowed to grow and divide, and then we'll move on and look at approaching another piece of material, okay? So wrapping up, just to reiterate what we did, we made some cuts, cut the tree to a trunk line. We also did paste those with the cut paste that we sell here. It's like a clay-based cut paste that really does help these roll over, as well as other trees. And trees of this caliber are very much valued for the degree of rollover. Scars are not valued. So we do try to heal those during the development phase, and this cut paste helps tremendously with that. So this guy put a little bit of wire onto him and wired some of our primary branches, and now he'll be set aside to grow, and we'll reassess him in a couple of months and choose some of the branches that have grown from that. Another piece of nursery material, just again going over finding that trunk line and making our initial cuts, and we're going to paste that and wire an initial shape, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, so here we are. The tree has been cut back to a line. You see it taper from the bottom to the top. We've removed and cleaned up a wound here and pasted that, as well as a wound to the front and pasted that. We've also gone and cut each one of these branch segments back for taper, and now we'll go ahead and apply a little bit of wire and just get an initial shape so that this one can then be set aside to grow for another couple months. Alright, so we went ahead and wired the primary branches that we had available to us. Now what I did do with the apex was I did cut it back before, so it actually should look like this, kind of once we get a bud to grow out of it and we can wire something up in this direction. And we're also looking for something to grow off to the left. That's a good initial design, so we'll go ahead and set that one aside as well and let it grow out for another couple months and reassess it then. what I like a lot about the Sea Hibiscus isn't even necessarily the material that I work on that day, the nursery material. It's the cuttings that I pull off of that material. This is one of the easiest trees to learn and to start propagating, and I'll show you one easy way to do it. So the first thing I do is I take all the leaves off. And so what that does is just stops the moisture flow out of the stem and keeps it from drying out while it starts to root into the pot. The next thing I do is I just make a fresh cut, and I'll go ahead and stick that in our cutting bucket with nursery soil. See, I ran that down in there. You don't want them butting up next to each other, but you don't want them too far apart either. And you'll see I'll prep this one as well. I like the hardwood cuttings a little more, so I'll cut that end off. And again, we have another cutting prepared. And we'll give our fresh cut and stick it in here. One more little cutting here. This one has a lot of leaves. Alright, so a little cutting there, and that one too, fresh cut. And we will also go in there. So what we can do with these cuttings once they're done, this is one that's been rooted for quite some time, and you see it's made a long leader here. So this is actually my preferred way of growing this material. I get a lot of joy out of this kind of cutting. We'll first kind of clean off this little stub. Put a little paste on that. And then I'm going to want to select large wire as close to the size and diameter of that trunk as I can get. So right now, I think the largest I have is about 5.5. I'm going to stick this here, down into the pot at an angle, all the way down. And I'm going to slowly start to wrap the cutting. So now the fun part is once it's wired, we then can start to bend it. We want to try to bend it in the direction that the wire is wrapped around it. So this is clockwise. I'm going to bend it clockwise. Now with this material, you may crack the terminal or the leader. You may break it in half. And with cut paste, that's not as big of a problem as it is with other species. Trying to get a nice bend in it, a twist. Okay, and that's a good start with a nice cutting. So now this will be allowed to thicken and grow, and in another year's time we'll have a really nice twisted trunk line that we'll be able to build a tree off of. So I hope today's video was helpful. Check our website for some sea hibiscus and go ahead and try this yourself at home.